Hello and welcome or welcome back to Read Becca for my weekly chatty catch-up on everything I read, everything I'm currently reading, and everything I'm looking forward to reading for roughly the current week, and some general chit-chat. I finished a couple of things this week, and I am going to have to make this quick. So fortunately for me, I don't have too much to say about any of them. First is Chokorēta-hime, which is chocolate princess, more or less. You can see she's got her crown on, she's pouring chocolate all over her pancakes, and the art was really lovely in this. This is a Japanese language children's book in kanji and hiragana, right around my reading level, thankfully, but I didn't quite get the entire plot. So mainly this seems to be the chocolate princess daydreaming about a world of candy and sweets. So you get these wonderful depictions of landscapes covered in candy. We've got ice cream islands, the white sweet cream stairs going up the mountain of sweets, things like that, candy grass. So that was delightful. It seemed like it went to a dark place in the back half, but I didn't quite get the plot. So I was able to read this at a fairly normal pace phonetically, but I didn't totally understand everything. However, I was very happy I understood a lot of words. So that's great. It helped me practice my Japanese, which is what I was hoping to get out of it. Then for booktrek, which is I think summer-wide event celebrating Star Trek, I read Star Trek Explorer Presents Star Trek Q and False and Other Stories. This is by multiple authors, and it looks like a comic book, but it's not. It's a short story collection. So, however, it has different covers for every story. So these are covers for two different stories, and both of these are by Christian Rosado is the artist. Great end papers. So the story layout is great because they do have covers for every story like that. And then in the layout, as you can kind of see, they have wonderful art pictures from the actual series. So I thought that was great at immersing it in the series that the story is set in. These are set from the original Star Trek all the way through Voyager in some variation. And so you're getting a great diverse cast and set of characters and stories. The authors, I should have mentioned those. So there are several different authors who wrote stories in here. James Swallow, Greg Cox, Una McCormack, Lisa Klink, Christopher Cooper, Chris Dowes, Peter Holstrom. So most of them have more than one story in here. So there are quite a lot of stories, and I pretty much enjoyed all of them. Some of them felt a little maybe fanfiction-y because they're tying into an existing episode in a lot of cases, or expanding the episode in some way. And so I both liked and didn't like that. It could go either way, really, depending on the execution. But I know some of these authors have written in canon books in the Star Trek universe, so that was interesting seeing this. So I don't know if these stories are kind of officially endorsed or not. But Star Trek Explorer apparently is the official Star Trek magazine, so I'm guessing these have been published previously in the magazine and collected now into this edition. But it was just really lovely. I did specifically enjoy the first half of the stories because for booktrek I have always leaned toward Q stories. Q is sort of Star Trek universe's Loki type character. He's a very powerful trickster. He kind of apparates in to whatever's going on, makes a mess of things, throws a wrench into the plans of the crew, and everyone comes out of it, both crew and Q, come out of it learning a lesson about humanity, more or less. Though that kind of is very thematic to Star Trek. Basically every episode they come out having really learned a lesson about the nature of humans. So, or I shouldn't say humans, people, not humans. So anyway, I enjoyed this very much, and I'm very glad. I am always inspired, I think, to participate in some way by Brandy from Booklectic and Fred from Read by Fred, though neither of them have been super active on BookTube recently. They did talk about booktrek early on at the start of the summer and really kept my eye out for anything that might fit, and so I was super delighted when I spotted this at the library. And then finally, the last one was a reread. I read The Wee Free Men by Terry Pratchett, and in fact I listened to the audiobook, although I do have this entire series back here in these lovely editions, and I have read them all before. So The Wee Free Men is the beginning of the Tiffany Aching sub-series within the Discworld series. So the Tiffany Aching series is 5 books, the Discworld series is 40 plus, but they are spread all over the Discworld. In this case, we are very localized in a tiny rural, sheep farming village, more or less. And we are specifically following Tiffany. Tiffany, as you can see, has a frying pan, Tiffany is going through, I think it would come close to coming of age, but she's still very young. So it's like the seeds of a coming of age journey that will happen in the next 2 books, really. So Tiffany is finding out who she is while also thinking back on her memories of her grandmother who has passed. She's still kind of dealing with the grief, though it wasn't super recent. But she's learning that though she knew and loved her grandmother, there were sides of her that she didn't see because she was seeing through a child's eyes, and there was so much more. So as part of that, she has begun seeing some strange things happening in her area, including a monster who she attacks with said frying pan. And she is the person who acts, and that is what is so integral to her character. Because as we find out almost immediately, this is one of the first scenes, she is coming into her own as a witch. But witches are not people who do magic. They have the ability to, but they're much more community carers. They're the people who observe and stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves, really. They're very practical and rational thinkers. They do the things that other people will not, for their community, really. And that's what's constantly driving them. And so Tiffany is one such person, and outside, I guess, witches are recognizing that, in fact, there is a witch coming up in this very rural community. And so that all begins in a very kind of light background way, I guess. So that's one part of the story. But then you have that whole magical thing where strange things are happening in the area. And Tiffany comes to encounter not just the initial monster, but a group of pixies, not pixies, Pixies, who are the Knack McFeegle, aka the Wee Free Men, that are these tiny blue men who wear kilts and have very strong accents and are rough and tumble fighters who steal everything. They're very funny, and they have a lot of strange ways of talking. Definitely, they say crivens a lot, but they are so entertaining, immensely entertaining. And that sets us off on a journey toward a fairy world seeping into Tiffany's life. And I love everything about this book and this series. Specifically, I think this book and the last 2 books in the 5-book series are incredibly strong. The second and third are a little bit weaker, but all of them as a whole arc, this is immense. This is probably my favorite series arc, is Tiffany's. And so I just love her as a character. I love everything about her interactions with the Wee Free Men and how funny they are. I love how this is skewering traditional fantasy tropes. I think he could have gone into even more social commentary, but it has a great balance between tackling those traditional fantasy tropes, like he does so well, Pratchett does, and also including social commentary about the importance of words and truth and the meaning of stories, or power of stories, really. And yeah, I just love that. I love his way of looking at the needs of the community and the way that you have to be kind of self-sacrificing at times for the best of others. And in his mind, that is the role of the witch. And we see that play out very much through Tiffany's story. So yeah, I just love this. I think this does a great job with Tiffany, that I saw even more in this reread, of tackling and turning on its head the traditional boys coming of age in fantasy. Because we see that often through all of this heroism and seeking individual glory. And he gives Tiffany that role, sort of, but turns it on its head with that there not being any glory in it at all. It being this very practical, rational role. And yeah, I think it's just very, very powerful that he's really skewering a lot of the standard traditional tropes. So love this book, as always. Then that's it for what I read. So what I've got in progress, I have Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I'm nearly finished. I've got less than 100 pages, and this is due on the 7th, so I need to finish it probably tonight. And I also started Iraq Plus 100, edited by Hassim Blassim. This is a speculative fiction short story collection, and it's not terribly long, so I just started the first story because I've not been having a ton of time to read, so this is on my TBR for the year, so I wanted to get to some short stories continuing. So I think that's all for book stuff. I put Moss Flower a bit on hold because it's very episodic, so it's easy to just pause it for now. I think I did not finish anything I was watching in terms of shows or movies to talk to you about. in terms of life stuff, just continued incredibly busy, incredibly hot around here. The kittens are still here. I did get a little bit slowed down. I had a minor, not any big deal, health issue that I had to deal with, and it definitely slowed me down sufficiently that I did get a little bit of ninth house reading, thankfully, done due to that, because I had to give myself a break. But yeah, not anything that's a big deal. And I think that's really it for life stuff. In terms of recommendations for the week, I have one that I can think of off of the top of my head because I forgot to make a list, but I did recently watch a wonderful video that perfectly ties in with this month of Women in Translation Month, and that is from Page Turners with Katya. She has started a new series on Translated Tuesdays, I think I'm saying it wrong, it's something else, but something similar, where she's talking through anticipated releases that are translated works, and I am all over that. I desperately need more people to be talking about what is coming out in translated work, because so few people do, and so that is perfectly putting me on the pulse. And fortuitously, I have Ellen and Nose. I put it on my TBR. It is sitting on the whole shelf for me at the library to pick up this week. So I am picking that up, but apparently had no idea Claudia Pinheiro has a new book coming out that I heard about thanks to Pratchett. So wonderful, wonderful one to check out. So I think that is it for my quick catch up this week. Thank you all so very much for showing up and sticking with me through a really rapid ramble. Thanks so much for watching.